my name is Donna Kimmel and I'm a physical therapist. Today what I'd like to discuss with you is ways that you can do your daily activities in a fashion that tend not to strain your low back. I'd like to approach the topic in three parts. First of all, to give you a little background of back anatomy. Second, to talk about 5 basic principles that can be translated into your daily activities. And third, to take a look at those daily activities, such as loading and unloading the dishwasher, making a bed, getting in and out of bed, shaving or putting on makeup. If we translate them into specific activities, you'll be able to use these things on a daily basis and hopefully prevent those stressful experiences that cause low back pain. First, I'd like to talk to you about anatomy. When we take a look at the spine, and I want you to imagine this person, spine to whom this belongs, facing in the same direction I am, you're going to see a bunch of bones stacked on one another. They're called the vertebrae. And in between those bones are the discs. They're spacers that allow the nerves to come through a hole created by 2 bones, one on top of another. And they absorb compression forces of gravity going down through the spine and any weights that we're holding in our arms and the weight of the body, as well as the compressive forces of the ground coming up through our feet, legs, and hips into the spine. So the discs are very important in helping to prevent low back pain by keeping spacing in the back so there's no pressure on the nerves. In addition, we see that joints are created by 2 bones being one on top of another, or on both sides. These joints allow for movement to occur in certain directions, and it restricts movement from occurring in other directions. By the same token, ligaments, which we cannot see on here, ligaments are connective tissue which go from bone to bone, and they also restrict how much movement is going to be possible around a joint. This is an extremely important protective mechanism, so that if for some reason the joints were going to be allowed to go too far, the ligaments would restrict that movement. And also what you can't see on here, but which are very important, are the muscles that go above and below joints as well, and it's the muscles that cause movement. Contraction and relaxation of muscles is what causes movement around joints. And the last thing is these things that look like worms coming out of the holes here on the spine. These are the nerves. Very, very important because they translate or they send messages down into the legs. These do because we're talking about the low back. And they bring messages back from the legs and feet to the spine and the brain. We've seen what movement looks like on a spine without flesh and blood. Let's see what it looks like on a real person. We're going to take a look at the main components of body movement, which are flexion, that's forward bending. And you see how the roundedness occurs in the lumbar spine as well as the whole spine. This fellow is very flexible. And backward bending or extension. Remember, all of these movements, although not as extreme, are components of the things we do all day long. Rotation, which is a kind of twisting movement. And here I'm keeping his hips fairly stable, which makes it more of a twist. And lateral or side bending. That's moving to the side. Okay. Now what you can see on this, you can tell, is that muscles are required to cause all those movements. What's very important about all of this is that when the body is in good alignment, very little energy has to be expended by the muscles. So that when you're standing in alignment with your ear, over your shoulder, over your hip, there is no energy expenditure necessary from any of the muscles of the spine. The only muscles that really have to contract at this time are those that are down at the ankle. And they keep the body from shifting too far forward or back. They allow balance to occur. But those are the only muscles that have to be working, once again, when the ear is over the shoulder and that over the hip. Now, if part of the body changes that alignment and the head juts forward, as we often see in a forward head posture, what we're going to find is that the muscles of the neck are going to pop out because they have to work in order to keep the head from dropping forward. Gravity would make the head go forward and the whole rest of the body go forward with it. bring your head back up, if these muscles didn't hold the head up and allow for the individual to see straight ahead. That same principle is true anywhere else in the body. Go ahead and slouch, Raj. If the body is in a slouched position, other parts of the body have to expend energy in order to keep that body in alignment, to keep it from falling forward. So all day long, as much as possible, we want to maintain this alignment. Not only is it important to keep the load reduced on the spine from the various positions of your own body parts, but it's equally important, and maybe even more so, turn around, Rashi, for you to keep external loads close to your body. Because the farther away from your body that an external load is, that is something that you're holding, the harder it is for your body to hold it up, and the greater the force that's translated down through your spine and through the discs. If you hold a weight far enough away from your body, say as far out as your arm, it can be more than 10 times the amount of weight that it actually is as a translated force down through your spine. When his arm is bent in this position, there's still going to be a load external to his body, but when I apply a lot of pressure and he tries to keep his arm up, he is going to be able to do this because not only does he have better leverage, but the forces that are translated down through his arm and into his body are reduced. So once again, the message is keep any external load closer to your body rather than farther away. It's going to decrease the amount of force that's transmitted down into your spine, through the top part of your body as well, but certainly reduce the amount of effort that's expended and allow you to do more activities with less energy expenditure. The principles that we've dealt with thus far have to do with keeping the body in good alignment, ear over the shoulder, over the hip. The second principle has had to do with keeping a load close to your body. The one that we're going to deal with now has to do with avoiding twisting, especially twisting with a forward bend to your posture. Okay, first of all, just a plain twist would be, have your feet, that's right. Just a plain twist would be having your feet facing one direction and your body turning to another direction. And you can see that that twist occurs in the spine. Now basically, that's not terribly hazardous because your body is protective. It has the joints that are only going to allow a certain amount of movement. But if you add to that a forward bend with rotation or twisting, now the spinal joints have opened up and you have much more of a risk for damaging the discs in between the bones. Recapping once again, we're talking about the ear, shoulder, and hip alignment, keeping a load in close, avoiding twisting, especially if there's a forward bend to the movement. And now we're going to talk about support for the low back. Rashi, come on back in and let's take a look at the curves in a normal back. We have a curve in the neck. We have a curve in the upper part of the back. And we have another curve in the low back, and then one which is down here in the sacrum which doesn't move. This is called a lordosis. This is a kyphosis. This is another lordosis. This curve down here is extremely important for the maintenance of good posture. We want to support this in sitting because in sitting the tendency is to slump and to let the body flex forward. So we want to support the low part of the back, which is then going to help maintain the alignment for the rest of the body, so we'll get the ear, shoulder, and hip. Let's bring over a chair and show what we mean. Okay. If Rashi just sits in the chair the way most people would in a chair of this nature, we're going to find that the shoulders are forward and the back is curved, kind of arched and slumped. If we put a roll in here, and you can place that wherever your low back is, good. We see that just supporting the low back creates a change in the thoracic spine and in the neck. So we now get the ear, shoulder, and hip alignment. This little trick can be done with just something called a lumbar roll. In this case, it's simply a towel with rubber bands on each end in order to hold it in place. Slipping this into a chair, wherever it's comfortable, to give support to the low back. Now one ought to be able to sit with this kind of support for a much longer period of time without low back strain than if you had nothing there at all. Next, we're going to cover how to do various activities of daily living without straining your back. In talking about sleep position, it's important to note that there really is no bad sleep position. If you go to sleep feeling comfortable in a particular position and you wake up feeling good, that position was fine for you. However, if you're going to be sleeping on your stomach, for instance, if you sleep with a pillow under your head, which is as large as this one, you're going to see that it makes too much of an arch in the neck up here, and it can cause some pinching in the neck, even if you turn it from side to side. So if you do use a pillow when you're on your stomach, you're going to want to have something more shallow than that. Okay, lying on your side, you'll want a pillow under your head, and you may or may not want, let's move your hips toward me a little more, you may or may not want to have a pillow between your knees. Some people like that because they feel that it balances off the hips a little bit, but it isn't absolutely necessary. Then, for sleeping on your back, you may have, that pillow's a little bit high for his neck because you see it lifts up his ear from his shoulder. So let's give him a softer pillow, and now his alignment is better. So he's got a good alignment there, ear, shoulder, and hip. He may want to, some people who are having back pain want one or sometimes more than one pillow under the knees, which reduces some of the strain on the low back. It's even possible to use something higher than 2 pillows if one is really having difficulty and is comfortable sleeping in a flexed position. And this can be created not just with a wedge like this, but rolling up towels or blankets or anything like that. Okay, now, waking up then in the morning, sometimes people complain of feeling very stiff. So something that can be done is to rock the knees gradually from side to side until the back feels loosened up. And after this has been done a number of times, it's easier to roll to get out of bed. And the way that's done is to roll the knees to the side, let the legs come off, and push up with the arms. Good, and the same thing for getting back into bed. Okay, now if an individual has been sleeping on his stomach, and you want to roll over on your stomach, or if you've been resting on your stomach because that's a comfortable position for relaxing your back, you can get out of bed in another way, letting one leg come off the bed, keeping your ear, shoulder, and hip alignment, and moving out of the bed that way. Good. Getting back in bed in the same way. Okay, now let's give you a pillow and have you roll over onto your back. Some people have difficulty getting on slacks, shoes, and socks when they have low back pain because they can't bend over far enough to get the slacks on, or even getting on pantyhose. So here's a way that you might try doing it. Got to bend your knees a little bit, that's it. You can get that leg in a little, then bring up the other leg. Try to keep the top part of you a little more relaxed. And you pull up the pant leg, and the other one. Good, sometimes they get stuck. He's got particularly tight pants there. My suggestion if you're having back pain is wear looser clothes. And pulling up the trousers. Good, and it's harder when you put them on over something else. Okay, and the same thing with sock, bringing the leg up. Now, for people who have limited joint mobility, they can't bend the knee very much and you can't bend the hip very much, this is going to be difficult. You're then going to have somebody help you get dressed, because to get clothes on in this way, you do have to have good hip and knee flexibility. And of course, the same thing getting on the shoe. Tying the shoelaces. Okay, good. All right, and then rolling out of bed and sitting up. From here, it probably makes sense to take a look at how then to make the bed. We've taken up the bedding so that we can really show you how a bed is going to be made. What you may have noticed before when I was adjusting the pillows for Rashi is that I needed to lean on my knee while I was passing the pillows to him and making other adjustments. And the reason for that is if I hadn't used my knee, I would have been leaning over forward and my back muscles would have to be holding me up. Therefore, whenever you have to lean forward in order to do some kind of an activity that's way ahead of you and you can't reach it, you need to support your back from the front, either putting your knee forward or putting a hand forward. In this fashion, you're going to be able to reduce the strain on your back and be able to do activities that require you leaning in this direction without using your back muscles. We've undone 2 of the corners so that you can see how it's done. Pulling in corner here, going over to the other side, pulling the corner over, and stooping down in each case, which requires fairly strong knees, some flexibility there as well. Walking around, bringing the sheet over, and then getting up onto the bed the way I demonstrated before, pulling the covers across, once again supporting with the knee and the hand. And what we see here is reading in bed, where the ear and the shoulder are in line, but not with the hip. So we're going to end up with a neck or upper back or low back strain unless we support the body parts pretty much in one line. We've used a wedge here with a couple of pillows in order to lift up his head, shoulders, and upper back to put them on the same line. In this position, he's less likely to have soreness developing in his low back or neck. Many people complain that when they strain to have a bowel movement, they increase their low back or leg pain. What's suggested in that situation is to arch your back as if you had a lumbar support in there, and then when you strain, you're less likely to have the low back or leg pain. People also complain about the pain they have in their low back when they're bending forward to brush their teeth or put on makeup or shave. When you bend forward like that, the back muscles are having to hold you up. So instead, propping on your arm and supporting your low back from the front makes that activity less likely to cause strain on your low back. Since showering is often done in the morning and we said the discs may be larger at that time, sometimes when people take showers they bend over to pick up the soap and hurt their backs. So what's recommended at that time in particular is to be sure you bend at the knees, use the side of the tub if you need to for balance, and try to keep the alignment of the ear, shoulder, and hip. Ear, shoulder, and hip. Problems are often encountered when loading and unloading a dishwasher, because if you do a single dish and you load in that fashion, you see that there is a significant forward bend with a twist as he rinses off the dish and puts it down into the dishwasher. If you do the same thing with all the utensils, you can see how many times you forward bend and twist just loading the dishwasher. Instead of doing that, it makes sense to rinse off all the dishes, well, pick up the utensil holder, rinse off all of the dishes, and put them right on the counter. Stack them up on the counter and put the utensils into the utensil holder. Then squat down, put the dishes into the dishwasher, one at a time. Same thing with the utensil holder. And when the dishes are finished, okay, that's fine. When the dishes are finished, you just come back over there, open up the door, squat back down again, put the dishes on the counter, one at a time, the same thing with the utensil holder, then close up the dishwasher, and put your dishes away and the utensils away, primarily as much as possible at shoulder height to the extent that that's possible. Okay, now if you have to spend a lot of time at the counter preparing a salad or anything else for mealtime, it makes sense to put your foot inside a cabinet if that's possible, or to bring over a stool if that's possible. Another way of reversing or changing the position of your low back, because as we said before, we want to try not to be in a static position, but allow the back to be in as many positions as possible without strain. If that still isn't enough, it's possible to sit at the table, so you've changed your position again. And if that bothers as well, then what we suggest is doing reversals, which means that you squat down, you let your body bend forward to stretch your low back muscles, and then you straighten up, put your hands on your hips, and arch your back so that you get some extension. Okay, good. A big offender for low back pain is vacuuming. Men and women alike complain about a significant increase in low back pain due to vacuuming. What we've suggested that people do, therefore, is maintain the ear, shoulder, and hip posture as much as possible and bring the vacuum cleaner from the side to the body, up to the foot. When that position becomes a little uncomfortable, switch to the other side. The side muscles are quite strong, and if you maintain the ear, shoulder, and hip relationship, you're likely to be able to get the job done, if you have to, without too much trouble. There's an example of getting down low below the couch or a table or something like that if you need to get another angle with the vacuum cleaner. Obviously, it's very difficult picking up heavy weights, boxes, heavy objects from the ground. Here he's demonstrating doing it the way most people do, bending forward, keeping the object away from the body, and straining the back. To do it correctly, you want to bend your knees, keep the ear, shoulder, and hip alignment, bring the object in close to your body, set it down very much in that same alignment, and you can see here when he does that and he bends down, there's an arch in the low back that he maintains as he bends down and as he picks it up. I've tried to include as many activities as I could that we all get involved in at home. Of course there are others, and there are other activities that we get involved in at work and at play that could not be covered. But what we have to do is apply the basic principles to all of those other activities. Those principles, once again, are maintaining the alignment of the ear, the shoulder, and the hip, avoiding twisting, especially with a forward bend, keeping the low back supported when we're sitting, keeping a load in close when we're moving it from one place to another, and trying to move around as much as possible, that is, avoiding a static position. This is Donna Kimmel, a physical therapist in Rockville, Maryland.